In the world of heavyweight boxing, few men built a reputation as fearsome as Smokin Joe Frazier. Here was an old-fashioned fighter, prepared to take a punch in order to land a single knockout blow.
I can clown, I can be cute, but that just ain't me, you know? And I don't really think this is the time to be cute and clown. This is a sport that I love, and the name of it is fighting. And I know every now and then I want to be catching a few punches, but I'm not going to worry about it. And as long as it don't take effect of me, I'm sharp and I'm conditioned, I don't worry about it.
But this was no ordinary fighter.
Perfect style. Joe Frazier was much more than just a tough guy. He was slick, smart, slide shots.
I think Joe was really fighting for America, and he brought a lot of honor and dignity to the role that he was in. And he brought dignity to his people, and he brought a nation together.
Alongside Muhammad Ali and George Foreman, Joe Frazier formed part of the greatest era in the history of heavyweight boxing.
Joe Frazier was a hell of a fighter. Joe Frazier belonged in any era.
Joe's gonna come out smoking, and I ain't gonna be joking. I'll be pecking and a poking, pouring water on his smoking. Then this might shock and amaze you, but I will destroy Joe Frazier.
The story of Joe Frazier is a story of two men. Frazier was the man who took Muhammad Ali's title. Ali the man who publicly humiliated Frazier. But neither could have reached the heights they did without the other.
Bottom line, their fights, they're always going to be hyphenated. You can't say one without the other, especially Frazier. It's Ali Frazier hyphen in there.
If Joe Frazier whoops me, I'm getting on my hands and my knees, crawl across the ring, look up to you, say you're the champion.
Well, I tell you what, I don't. You might not be able to crawl. If he whipped me, I'll crawl across the ring to him. And then but in this situation, he won't be able to crawl. I got to walk over.
You had Muhammad Ali, who was the symbol of the anti-war movement, the exemplar of black pride. And then on the other hand, you had Joe Frazier, who fairly or unfairly had become the fighter of the establishment, the status quo.
But the rivalry ran deeper than that.
I guess if you've been around this guy long enough, you know what I mean, somehow you could have a lot of hate in your heart, you know, when that bell rings. But otherwise, you look at him and laugh, there's something wrong with the guy. You gotta be safe.
Frazier internalized, boiled over. I don't know that it's unfair. He was hurt. But, you know, how do people show they're hurt? Some in anger come out, some ignore, and some just burn inside.
For almost 50 years, Joe Frazier burned inside.
The irony of Muhammad Ali becoming this militant in the 60s is he had a beautiful lifestyle. He was a young amateur boxer who was subsidized from the time he was a young boy, 10 or 12 years of age. Joe Frazier worked on a sharecropper's farm. His father had one arm. Frazier was doing work of an adult when he was 10, 11, 12 years of age. Frazier was always doing it tough. So I think Frazier felt that, you know, for Ali to belittle him when he really went through that life, that was pretty much, you would say, that's the stereotypical life of an American black man. I think that grinded at Frazier.
Born into poverty in 1944 in Beaufort County, South Carolina, the young Joe had little formal education and even fewer prospects. Boxing offered a way out.
I was born and raised in South Carolina. I was going to school, but I didn't go to school. I think I learned how to spell cat and dogs, you know, that was all. And the guy who was sitting next to me, I had a copy of his paper. Most likely he was wrong, so therefore I was the same way. Wrong again. So therefore, you know, I never would grow to be, let's say, a lawyer, you know, but growing to be, let's say, champion of the world.
Frazier found his initial calling in the unforgiving cotton fields of America's Deep South.
The work around here was hard, that's for sure, and, well, driving tractors in the field, loading vans, otherwise working on the grader machine, and every now and then dig a little ditch also. Well, it didn't pay well, but right now I think it paid off.
One day I sit down and tell Mom, look, I gotta move. She said, well, boy, you know, you're a young boy, want you to stay in school and learn as much as you can. I said, I want to be the champion of the world, and I ain't gonna get it down here.
Instead, the ambitious young Frazier moved north, eventually settling in Philadelphia via New York. In between jobs at a slaughterhouse and a life of petty crime, he let off steam at the Police Athletic League where he learned to box. And it was here that he teamed up with trainer Yank Durham. The fiery Frazier made an immediate impression.
He's going into the job to do the best he possibly can do. But at times he will get worked up. That you know, it's he and I, we don't argue, but he cuts me up pretty short, and I know that he's, you know, getting a little worked up about the fight, and he's figured out the fight on his own from there. He wanted to move. He quit nights. He's seen other guys doing it, and he thought he was the type of fighter that could move around the ring. And I said, look, this is something we have to stop. This nonsense running around the ring and trying to box. You're not a boxer. You're too short for a boxer. You're a fighter. You got the power. And I figured by teaching him the born-in style, slipping and all the time, and keeping after a guy, that he would be successful in this, you know, fighting his style there. If you look at the boy's structure, he's a strong boy, big thighs, and he's a very good puncher. And you got to keep the guy applying pressure on these fighters.
When I came out of Mama, I was a big boy. So therefore, so I do know how to throw them hands, you know what I mean?
Most important, when you're in there fighting, you're going down this way, so my head is exposed.
Right.
You get into here, bring him up from that. You go down, when he coming out, bring them hands up.
I had plenty of insight on Joe Frazier. Joe Frazier was a hell of a fighter. Joe Frazier belonged in any era. A well-taught guy. Yank Durham was a great manager he had. The trainer was a great trainer. I'm from Philly originally, so I knew the whole clientele around Joe Frazier. I knew the guys. They were friends of mine.
Under Durham's watchful eye, Frazier quickly progressed as an amateur, winning the Golden Gloves heavyweight division in 1962, 63 and 64, before taking his place on the US team for the 1964 Olympics.
I started in 1960, 61, late 61, early 62, and then went on to Tokyo to win a gold medal. I was the only guy to save America on the boxing team. Let's say I'm the only guy that won a gold medal. So therefore I saved America. And during the time, I messed around and had busted up knuckles.